they've kind of asked me to kind of tie the day together, which is very difficult. So the easiest thing for me to do was to create my own Wordle, and that is the key phrases and terms that I heard today. And there's a lot of commonality, as I'm sure all of you who have taken notes and have looked at this have figured out. So obviously hope is the overarching theme that we're spending time today, but you look at this and leaders, champions, ripples, excitement, change, thinking about life in the world and change within that, imagination, shared or common vision, excited about the future, passion, focused and common goals, transferability, openness, innovation feeds on diversity, interdependence, engaged citizenry, data analytics, dialogue and conservation, breaking the mold, tweaking the mold, issues about culture, issues about long-term horizons. Atwood was a really great example of that. Looking at enabling, who is there, empowerment, communications, things that can be transferred, learned, and taught, willing to try new ideas, sustainability, small wins and small bite size, persistence, resilience, networks, connected. I like the one Misfits because at UNO we're Mavericks, but we decided not to be called the UNO Misfits. We thought it wouldn't be too good. Well, and I think those commonalities really do tell us a lot about rural Nebraska and greater Nebraska. I think it tells us a lot about the opportunity and the potential that we see every day. I come from Omaha, but spent a great deal of my early time in Nebraska throughout the entire state of Nebraska, doing work and consulting and services from Scottsbluff to Alliance to Broken Bow to Dawson County, you name it. I think I've probably been there. And one of the things I loved about that experience were the people and the commitment and, frankly, the hope. So I want to talk about just a couple other things and then wrap it up. I'm not sure hope was the focus, but I also spent a lot of time looking at future orientation. I don't know if future orientation leads to hope or whether hope leads to future orientation, but I think it's absolutely critical to understand the issue. You hear about it in vision. We talk about it in vision. We talk about it in goals. But this is an individual level, this is an organizational level, and it's a community level. If you are not looking toward the future, if you don't have some sense of something yet to do, then you're in deep trouble. I had a real quick quote from Viktor Frankl. Some of you may have heard of Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book in 1959 called Search for Meaning. He was incarcerated in a concentration camp in Germany for 4 years. And he survived, and he came out and he wrote this book, which is still probably a bestseller today. And he talks about the challenges in a concentration camp. Where could you be more hopeless than a concentration camp? And he said, the prisoner who had lost his faith in the future, his future was doomed. With this loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and became a subject of mental and physical decay. Usually this happened quite suddenly in the form of a crisis or symptoms of which we were familiar to be experienced in a camp inmate. We all feared this moment, not for ourselves, which would have been pointless, but for our friends. Usually it began with prisoners refusing one morning to get dressed or to wash or to go out on the parade grounds. No entreaties, no blows, no threats had any effect. He just lay there, hardly moving. If this crisis was brought about by an illness, he refused to be taken to the sick bay or do anything to help himself. He simply gave up. And his point in this book was hope and sense of future were critical to his success and critical to his ability to survive the worst, most degrading, most difficult experience. And I think that says something to all of us. finally, I have an iron law. It's a really important iron law. It's irrefutable and is always true. That's what I like about my iron law. It's insecurity drives the world. Insecurity drives the world. And what I find, whether it's individual insecurity, organizational insecurity, or community insecurity, those who are most insecure in who they are, what they believe, what comfort level, what confidence, what hope they have, are the ones who strike out the most, the ones who are most angry, the ones who are fear change the most. We talked a lot in the panel about the difficulty with change and the difficulty with resistance to change. If you can overcome that insecurity, if you can overcome that sense of lack of control or fear of the future, if you can overcome that, you can overcome most anything. And I guess the last thing, the most important thing, the thing that I left today understanding really reflects this phrase: selling dog braces in Lithuania. Thank you.